to you for
Okay.
let's enroll.
Okay. Well, first of all, in all, coming to Oregon for so many years, in support of so many causes, but to be here right now on the threshold of this big election over Measure 92 is to be here at a time of transcendent importance, not just for Oregon, but in American politics, because Oregonians have a chance to score a breakthrough nationally, a ringing declaration of the rights of consumers to know how their food is made, to know what's in the food that they consume. And you're part of that. And I came here to thank you for the work that you've already done, the doors that you've knocked on, the calls that you've made, the contacts that you've made, the emails that you've sent out, all of the rallying that's going on here. And now, with just a few days left, this is the moment that you could put this over the top and just seal the victory. And I know you're going to do that. This issue is very important in our household for a lot of reasons. Many of you know that it was years ago, as a member of Congress, I introduced the first labeling bill in the United States Congress. And it was a bill designed to establish a national standard of labeling, but then subsequent bills were about establishing that there ought to be safety testing, that these products that were created, these genetically engineered products, were put on the market without the public being aware of any tests that had been done. And we have someone here who's in, Raymond, who's in the commercials now, as an EPA scientist. He was warning people about this in 1986, 87, and people weren't paying any attention. Because why? Because this was a decision to put genetically engineered products out into the market without regard to public health, without regard to issues of allergenicity, toxicity, antibiotic resistance, functional characteristics. This was not about any of those things. It was not about public health. It certainly isn't about the public right to know. It was about corporate profit and the hijacking of agriculture. Yeah. But you know what? Yeah. Oregon's going to answer that. Now, one of the things that has helped spur the movement nationally has been a film that has just won the Environmental Media Awards Top Film of the Year award, and the executive producer of that film, Elizabeth. And before I turn it over to Elizabeth, you know, in the Kucinich household, on our birthdays, we take that day to focus and create the kind of world that we want ahead. We just take the time to do, it's a spiritual practice as well as an intellectual practice and commitment from the heart. You take that day of your birth and you use that day to create the kind of world that you want. You think about what you're going to create in the future. Well, guess what? Elizabeth is here. This is her birthday, and she wants to help you create a victory on Measure 92. Yeah!
It is so great to be with you and to see you all here, and thank you for the work that you're doing. I know that you're going to be volunteering and that you have been volunteering. We really need to get those ballots back with X marks the spot on yes on 92. And I know that you know all of this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to reiterate that there's lots of questions about GMOs. This is obviously about your right to know. And we have a right to know whether our crops are being sprayed with glyphosate, or as EPA and USDA have said, you know what, it's fine, go ahead, GeoEnlist, go ahead and spray 2,4-D on 2,4-D and glyphosate-resistant crops. So this toxic chemical cycle that we're seeing being sprayed on our agriculture is really a chemical warfare of nature. It is not causing increase in yield. It is not causing them to develop crops that are actually helping us to do anything that combats climate change or feed the world. I want to nourish the world, and I want to make sure that we can continue to grow a healthy and clean food supply. I'm on the board of the Rodale Institute, and I'm also the Director of Policy at the Center for Food Safety. And the key work there really is showing, you know what, we need not only to feed people, we need to nourish them. We need to nourish them with good, clean, healthy food. And the first part of that is to actually know what it is that we're eating, which is why, obviously, Yes on 92 while you're here and I have the opportunity to speak to you, I'd like to bring the good news as well about organic regenerative agriculture and the possibilities there, that we have the opportunity not only to feed and nourish the world, but also to reverse climate change through our agricultural practices. And when we really look at soil underneath our feet, not as dirt, but as a living organism that is full of extraordinary life, that has symbiotic relationships with plants and us, that we are able to then start to truly take care of, be stewards of the building blocks of life. So soil is where it starts. And of course, chemical agriculture and GMO agriculture particularly, being so egregiously chemical, is destroying our soils. And when we start to take care of soil health through an organic approach, by growing cover crops, by putting more plant matter back into the soil, by strengthening them, we see that when we take that soil and put it in water, it actually clumps, it stays together, which shows that when we're in situations of flood, that soil then is actually more solid, more stable, and it takes in the water rather than having us lose our topsoil. It also means that it's much more full of nutrients. And the more plant matter that we have, when we have cover crops, and at the Rodale Institute, we use cover crops in something called a roller crimper, where we roll those crops and chop them, and at the back end of it we sow the seeds. This is like a carpet that covers the soil, and it keeps moisture in. So we're able to retain moisture, we're able to grow very strong crops, and we're able to produce a very, very healthy food supply. And in that, to bringing down of carbon and using photosynthesis as the biggest carbon sink opportunity that we have. So we can reverse climate change through organic regenerative agriculture. We can have a very healthy food supply. But first we have to pass yes on 92. So do everything you can, and thank you so much.
Boss, do we have time for a couple questions? Excellent. So, a couple of questions first. Steve Guest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big single-payer advocate here, and you were a big single-payer advocate until your plane ride with Barack Obama. What happened on the plane ride?
Well, I took a ride from Washington to Cleveland. It's on Air Force One. I'd been on Air Force One before, so it wasn't such a big deal. But the fact of the matter is, the president wanted to talk to me about my position, which was in favor of single-payer and which was not in favor of a for-profit health care system. And so, frankly, nothing that the president told me on that flight changed my mind about anything. When I got off the plane, people in my community were asking me, isn't there something you could do that we could add, do to get you to vote for this? Because we want our children who are age 26 be able to be covered on, up to age 26, be able to be covered on a parent's policy. We want to make sure that if somebody has a pre-existing condition, they can be covered. And so people in my district started asking me that. The next day I went to the Capitol and I thought about it. And I made it, and the president had called me that night. I didn't return his call because I wanted to make the decision without, the White House kind of weighing in with any political implications. So I made the decision, sitting next to a statue of Abraham Lincoln in the Capitol at 6:30 in the morning, where I got up and as the sun's coming into the Capitol, I was thinking about, is there a way to take a stand that would keep the space open in the future for transition from a for-profit system to a not-for-profit system? And so that went into my thinking. But it wasn't about a ride on Air Force One. It was about looking to the future in terms of, is there a way that we can move towards a not-for-profit system, even though this particular legislation was something that I did not want. And, so when I last came to a decision, the people, I was told, the people in the White House were watching the television, and that they didn't know how I was going to vote until I actually announced it. Because I have to tell you that I had a lot of misgivings about giving the insurance companies a new lease on life through continuing the for-profit system. But I think that at least what we showed as reform is possible, even though it was not the kind of reform that occurred that many of us want. So the efforts continue. Thank you.
Excellent. Since has a long and storied history on many issues, I would ask you please to keep your questions to GMO food labeling and the ballot initiative here in Oregon. Go ahead.
I'm obviously very strongly in favor of GMO labeling, especially for my family and my choices, but as someone who cares about people who are in poverty and experiencing hunger, the one concern I had about this is around the process, the cost of food and bread. So I was hoping you guys could speak a little bit to how this is going to benefit people in poverty and not cause them hunger.
The issue of hunger is a food justice issue, and this is a food justice issue. Now, there are over 3,000 products and processes that are already labeled. That is not what causes product pricing to go up and down. Variations in products really is the cost of an ingredient. That's what can make a product fluctuate, and yet the market manages to maintain pricing. When you go into a store, heaven forbid, like Walmart, you might pay one level. If you go into Whole Foods, you'll pay another for exactly the same product. There the differential is. It is not in the labeling. And when there's companies like Ben & Jerry's that have come out that I've done lobbying with in Washington, and they've said, you know what, we continually change our product labels, add to every other company, you know, cereal company. What's the new toy of the month that's going in there? They're changing their labels. It is not about a cost issue. This is just a scaremongering tactic, as we have seen in so many arguments. And I'm sad to say that I think that that's probably what took the ballot down in California. It is untrue, and it's not something that we should be worried about. What we should be worried about with regards to food security is making sure that more people are food secure, and that the food people are eating is actually pure and not causing them to have health effects.
And here's something that we ought to think about. Why is it that 64 other countries are able to require products that are genetically engineered to be so stated on a label, including products that come from the United States? So, really, think about this. Why is it that labeling can stand all over the world, but not in the United States? I'll tell you why. Because of the tremendous money power of these corporations who give to both political parties, who give to candidates for office, who actually buy their influence through false advertising. This is why we don't have labeling. And they're afraid that if they label, they might lose market share. Well, you know what? Why don't you just try practicing honesty with the American people? That America, which likes to think that we can go and visit democracy around the world everywhere, why don't we bring it here? Hello?
Who wants to have the last? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Could you maybe speak to the fact that organic food is more expensive? I understand this largely because of certifications that are unfair and imbalanced compared to other types of food.
Well, there's many facets of organic. You know, organic is a whole systems approach. It's not, you're not just growing something and throwing chemicals on it and yielding it. You're a part of a much more dynamic part of the environment. And yes, certification is one thing. And certification is that we're things that held to high standards, so we know that when something says it's organic, we know the standards that it's adhered to. It would be wonderful if that was the mainstream, that organic is the foundation of our agriculture rather than something that we're seen as prohibitive. So it would be nice if we're able to reduce the cost and the labor intensity of certification. But when we are paying for organic, we're actually paying for something which is about our health. We're paying for actually all of the costs of agriculture. It's not subsidized like the industrial agriculture. It's millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, being hemorrhaged out of the government purse to subsidize a destructive system. So we have to really take those subsidies into consideration. And why is the federal government and the other layers really supporting systems of agriculture that are ultimately destructive? The cost also, we don't have true cost accounting in food. If you look at why does a Big Mac cost less than a salad, when you look at the outputs of industrial agriculture, that they are shifting the burden of cost onto the people. So we look at water pollution, air pollution, and all of those kinds of things. So we really need to reassess what it is that we're paying for when we're buying certain kinds of food.
And so the industry gives us a fake account of what organic agriculture is, and they refuse to be held to any kind of an accounting with respect to industrial agriculture. Again, hello, America, wake up. I mean, do you want to have the right to know how your food is made or what's in your food, or do you just want these industries to march in your face with a vegetable at the end of a fork and say, here, eat your genetically modified veggies or else? I mean, I'm sorry. This is essentially an issue about freedom as well, whether we have the right to choose and the right to be able to know how our food is made. And to me, when you see corporations aren't about rights, never have been.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday to you.
Be a great birthday present for her.
All right.
Birthday. So, by a show of hands, who signed up tonight to reach out to voters by telephone, or who wants to get involved right now and make some phone calls tonight? Show of hands, everybody. Everybody that's holding their hands to make phone calls, please walk down to the end of this hallway to the exit sign, and we will get you set up very quickly to reach out to voters and talk to them about Measure 92. Now, who in the room signed up to go knocking on doors or wants to get involved in knocking on doors tonight? Fantastic. We're going to let the phone makers, why don't we meet right here? If you signed up to canvass right here. Now, for those of you who didn't raise your hand, we have got organizers in the room. Organizers, hold up your hands. They've got schedules. We'd love to get you to sign up for a shift in the future. Wayne, hold up your clipboard. Jesse,
And that's how you do that.